You know I love Chicago. Caleb Williams, has he finally broken the Bears' 75-year curse? So since the beginning of the AFL-NFL merger, 1967, they've drafted in the first round Trubisky and Rex Grossman and all these guys. None of them have really panned out. I mean, McMahon did sort of. But I was looking at the NFL standings this morning, the first-place teams. AFC East, best quarterback leads, Josh Allen. AFC North, best quarterback, Lamar Jackson leads. AFC South, best quarterback leads, C.J. Stroud. AFC West, best quarterback leads, Patrick Mahomes. NFC East, I'm sorry, Jaden Daniels throws the ball better than Dak, moves better than Dak, doesn't make the turnovers of Jalen Hurts. He's the best quarterback. Sam Darnold's playing like the best quarterback, although I think Goff or Jordan Love are. But Sam Darnold's playing like the best quarterback. He'd be the highest MVP vote getter in that division as of today as a quarterback. Kirk Cousins leads his division. And by the way, I think Matt Stafford's better than Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy's good. So pretty simple. It's 1/3 through the regular season. We already see who leads the division. The best quarterback in the division or a really good quarterback playing the best in the division. That's it. And I think 6 games in a career as a quarterback, you're going to see 2 things. Red flags, you see those immediately, red flags, or really excellent traits. Take Jaden Daniels. I mean, Jaden Daniels, super mobile, way above average, really accurate. The coaches loved Jaden Daniels at LSU. They could not stop complimenting him in camp. Remember that in camp? You never hear a coach and a coordinator gush over a rookie quarterback. They're always like, be patient. It takes time. They were like, this kid's amazing. He's amazing. Everybody loves him. I've seen enough. Jaden Daniels, I don't see any red flags. I see nothing but excellent traits. He's a franchise quarterback. Now, it may take a while. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Baker wasn't mature enough for the tire fire known as the Cleveland Browns. He's more mature now. And Sam Darnold needed a great offensive coach. Kevin O'Connell, the Jets couldn't provide that, his mechanical flaws. And I don't think either of those guys qualify as good as Caleb Williams. But my point is, 6 games is enough. I look at Bo Nix. He is Drew Brees. Accurate. He'll get in Sean Payton's face. He's mobile. Drew Brees was mobile early in his career, much more than later in his career. I look at Bo Nix. Does he have a big arm? No, Brees didn't throw it deep well, especially in the latter part of his career. Bo Nix didn't have a big arm. He got a lower ceiling. He's smaller than like a Lamar Jackson. He's not as twitchy, but he's super mobile, much more mobile than you think, accurate, and he's a leader, not a follower. And he, by the way, Caleb's got more talent, and Jaden Daniels has more talent. That Denver roster, Vegas had him over-under as a 5-win team. So he's having to elevate in a division with Herbert and Mahomes, having to elevate a really average roster. And then there's Caleb Williams. He just keeps getting better every week. Big arm, moves exceedingly well. Very good with the media. I mean, I watched Caleb Williams. It was funny. Justin Fields in Chicago and in Pittsburgh, it's always 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Back-to-back games in Pittsburgh, Justin Fields' passer rating and completion percentage have dipped. It's not that way with Caleb Williams. Every week, passer rating goes up, completion percentage goes up. You see ascension, not 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So with Justin Fields, you can buy into it, but it's hype. Even now in Pittsburgh, he has a winning record. And Mike Tomlin's like, yeah, I think I'm going to try Russell Wilson. So 6 games in, I think you can say it. The Bears solved their 75-year drought. This is it. This is what it looks like. Really talented, getting better, appears to take to coaching, a feel for the pocket. Washington. I grew up, Washington had a different name, and they were dominant. Joe Gibbs, and before that, George Allen. Jaden Daniels is good. This is what a franchise quarterback looks like. I see Bo Nix. Yes, he doesn't run around like Jaden Daniels or Caleb, but he is athletic. He doesn't have the big arm of Caleb. He's not as good as Caleb. But it looks like a franchise quarterback to me, and it didn't take me long with Herbert or Burrow or C.J. Stroud either. 6 games is enough to have certain declarations. Matt Hasselbeck this week on why Caleb Williams in Chicago is having the early success.
He's throwing on time, in rhythm with the quick game. And that's very important because you're avoiding sacks. You're getting the ball out of your hands into the hands of the athletes. But then where he's exceptional is when plays take a little bit longer and you're throwing the ball downfield. His scramble ability is translating from the college game to the pro game. And that doesn't always happen with guys. So I think the combination of, obviously they're playing good around him, playing well, but the quick game is working. And then the exceptional explosive plays that you saw at SC, they're still there as well.
Good stuff, Matt.
Okay. So, yeah, I obviously completely agree. I know Colin was kind of addressing all the rookie quarterbacks and all of that. I just want to focus on Caleb here. And you can tell that Chicago has made some really nice moves. I know things started off rocky. And I know the counter is already people saying, well, listen, he's getting better because they're playing bad teams, which I've already talked about in many videos now. And I've already kind of shot all that down. Because you can see more than anything, from my viewpoint, is Caleb Williams and Shane Waldron's relationship now being fully developed and on display. Make no mistake about it, that game against the Jags, Shane Waldron was setting up Caleb. He was putting him in a position to succeed, which is what we all were saying we didn't feel that was happening as much in the beginning of the season. And there was a lot of back and forth. They're like, oh, now it's Shane Waldron's fault, or no, it's Caleb's fault. There was that kind of like that fight back and forth between who's to blame between the slow start. And it was like, there's really no one to blame. It's a feeling out process, right? The coaching staff needs to figure out how to maximize and how to put Caleb in a position to succeed, and Caleb needs to learn from the coaches and understand, and right, when to trust a coach, when to kind of half listen to him, and when to ignore him altogether, quite frankly, right? I mean, honestly, it's a process. It's not unlike developing any other type of relationship, and you have to figure this stuff out. I talked about this the other day in terms of Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. People think like this is such a great player and he's an established player, so anybody knows what to do with a player like that. And it's like, no, the Ravens have to figure out, how do we maximize Derrick Henry in our run game? How do we feed him off of Lamar? How does Lamar feed off of him, right? Like it's this exploratory process, and that's what was happening with the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams, and specifically Shane Waldron. And you could see that from my viewpoint on full display. And Travis O'Shea pointed that out as well in terms of, I forget the exact play. It was one of the plays to Komet, and was just like, that design is Shane Waldron right there, right? And it's like that play design is what set Caleb up for success. But now it's also Caleb getting better, going through his progressions, being more on time. That's why it's always a combination, right? I talk about this all the time. It's always this combination between player and coach. A lot of people either just go all in on coaching or they just go all in on the player. And the reality is it's a delicate dance between the two of them. And so what we're seeing is that right now, which should make you more excited as a Chicago Bears fan, because we've seen quarterbacks sometimes overcome coaching, but it can only take you so far. You can't be maximized. And we've seen on the other end where we see a coach maximize a quarterback, but the quarterback is just not good enough, right? He just can't get there. What we're seeing now is this relationship really being developed, so they're maximizing each other. When it's time for Caleb to be off script and scramble and do the things that he needs to do, at that point, that has little to do with Shane Waldron. I'm sure there's still guidance and understanding, and you're still kind of setting them up for success, but it's going to be more heavily on Caleb to get it done. And when the plays are designed, and game plans and approaches, and setting up, trying to pretty much get Caleb to do pitch and catch throws, that's going to be more Shane Waldron, right? And it's like, but it's going to be up for Caleb to execute. So it's this constant back and forth, which is always funny to me, because football, they always say this is the ultimate team sport, and it's true, right? There's so many moving parts on a football team that it's very obvious to see. I always think it's funny when you see like a wide receiver or running back, they get a touchdown, they're all dancing like this, and it's like, you should literally run to your offensive line to be like, thank you so much for that awesome block, thank you for getting that hole, thank the coach for calling a great play, right? Like, thank you to the O-line coach for doing this, thank you to the quarterback for having an awesome throw, like whatever it may be. Like, it's so many moving parts. It's kind of mind-blowing that how can they even do this week after week after week. And so like I said, go back and watch highlights from that Jags game. And to me, it's just you just see that relationship on full display, which has to be very, very exciting. It can't be emphasized enough from my viewpoint. And that's why you're seeing the growth. And that's why you're seeing the success. And that's why I don't care about them playing the Jags or the Panthers, because you can see the relationship on full display. You can see. Now, I'm sure against better defenses, Caleb's back will be up against the wall a little bit. Same will Shane. And then you'll see that relationship develop even more. You'll see Caleb still make some mistakes, of course, but you'll see how they navigate it now. What type of get-out-of-jail-free cards does Shane Waldron set up for Caleb? Does Caleb have the ability and the wherewithal to be able to utilize, to be able to deal with some of the issues that these better defenses will give them? Which I believe he will, but it's it's also gonna be that process as well. And this is why Colin kind of pointed out at the beginning of the season, or before the season even started, about the schedule. And it's like, they wanted the Chicago Bears to kind of get settled, to go through these growing pains before they start to play these better teams. Like, I mean, the Vikings were kind of a surprise team to many people, but like the Bears, the Lions, I think they play the Bears, Lions, the Lions, the Packers, I think they play the 49ers as well. I'm not sure, I forget at this point, but all of those things, they're now going to be in a better position to actually compete. Whereas it's not hard to imagine if the Lions played the Bears week 1 or week 2, the Lions would just roll them, right? Now it doesn't feel that that's as much of a possibility. So definitely really interesting. And, as Colin kind of highlights here, right, Caleb, Jaden, and Nick's combined for an 11-7 record. It's pretty impressive. And I think what's really cool about this is what I've seen through all the fan bases dealing with the Bo Nixes and the Jaden Daniels and the Caleb Williamses fan bases, is that they all are really excited about their own individual quarterback. And right, the Chicago Bears are excited that they have Caleb, and the Commanders are excited that they have Jaden, and the Broncos are excited that they have Nix. And I think that that's going to make for a pretty fun rivalry. And in a lot of ways, I hope it doesn't get too intense, too hostile. I think it could be fun, and it's going to be fun to kind of go back and forth on, especially once Caleb and Jaden play one another. But I just hope it doesn't diverge into what we see with like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, or Lamar and Burrow and Lamar. It's a lot of Lamar and Mahomes, or Mahomes and Allen, where it's just kind of like constantly trying to downplay the other quarterback rather than just kind of celebrating the other quarterback's greatness. Because I think if Nix ends up being an awesome quarterback, and Jaden ends up being an awesome quarterback, and Caleb ends up being, like, the NFL is better, right? It's so much better for the NFL for Caleb to be awesome and maximize his potential, and Jaden, right? To have an NFC Championship game, Caleb versus Jaden, right? Like, that's box office. To fighting to win, to face Nix in the Super Bowl, right? Like those things are box office. That's exciting. That's intense. It's so much better to have that rather than Jaden just not being that good of a quarterback and struggling, right? Him being like a Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears or something, right? Like, that's less exciting. That's less, fun to watch. So it's like, I'm personally rooting for all these quarterbacks because I think the NFL is just better. And again, if you want to take like a slightly outside perspective of that, these are two fan bases, really three fan bases right now if we're looking at the Broncos as well. All three of these teams have really suffered over the years, like years and years and years. The Commanders have not been anything. So them having a quarterback like makes them relevant, and that it's better that way. And the Chicago Bears know what it's like to not be relevant, not have a quarterback. Now you got a quarterback, you're immediately relevant, right? And same thing with the Broncos now, although they had kind of of course, the Manning years and stuff. But so I'm just excited to see how all these quarterbacks continue to age, because especially we're coming off plenty of seasons where they draft a lot of quarterbacks, and it's like we don't even remember majority of the names of the quarterbacks who were drafted, honestly, because it's just like, yep, no, those quarterbacks ended up pretty much nothing. Most of them don't even end up as backups. They're just gone. They just kind of vanish. Like, we have three quarterbacks right now that truly feel like they will legitimately be in the NFL for 10 plus years and beyond. And like, that's awesome to see. And I think we'll probably continue to see that trend to a degree, not every single year, of course, but I think we're going to continue to see just higher quality, better and better quarterbacks. And when you see Caleb and Jaden and Nix have the success that they've had, especially Jaden and Caleb being in the NFC, you're going to look at these other teams who maybe have a Jalen Hurts, a Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, and they're going to be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we really want to stick with this. Like, you're going to be looking over your shoulder. Like back when it was maybe just Mahomes or even just Lamar, like there was the feeling of like, well, that's a needle in a haystack. How are we ever going to find something like that? Okay, it's easier said than done to say find the next Mahomes, right? Like, what do you want us to do? But now when you have a draft pumping out, QBs, it's like, this is possible. So if anything, Caleb also continues to show what's possible for other teams. And I think you'll potentially see other teams be more aggressive in the draft and more aggressive with their decision making, and maybe not sit on, say, a Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, whatever it may be. Because they're going to want to be like, well, look what Caleb did immediately for Chicago. Yeah, it took a couple games, but pretty much immediately, like, look what Caleb has done for Chicago. They're already in an NFC championship game. They're in a Super Bowl within the first couple of years or whatever, right? Like, that's going to accelerate teams all over the NFL. So it's going to be, from my viewpoint, it's going to be really, really cool to kind of watch unfold. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams, and I guess the rest of the rookies for that matter, and what he's been able to do for Chicago? And according to Colin, the curse has been broken. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.